Our lesson for today is the ethical dimension of payment for ecosystem services. The degradation of our planet's natural environment is a global concern that has far-reaching consequences for current and future generations. In response to this crisis, laws and regulations were put in place. However, these have limitations in ensuring compliance. Alternatively, other strategies have been employed which incentivize environmental conservation and restoration. One such strategy is payment for ecosystem services, or sometimes called payment for environmental services. This is a mechanism that compensates individuals or communities for preserving and enhancing environmental services such as clean water, carbon sequestration, and biodiversity conservation. While PES programs are often lauded for their potential to align economic incentives with ecological preservation, the ethics of these payment schemes remain a topic of discussion and debates. This lecture explores the ethical dimensions of PES, considering issues related to justice, fairness, accountability, and the potential commodification of nature. So what is PES? Ecosystem services are considered as open access and public services. These services tend to have no property rights, ambiguous entitlement structures, and prohibitive transaction costs. As no one owns or has the rights to these services, and others cannot be excluded from using or benefiting from them, little incentive exists for beneficiaries to manage the ecosystem services in a sustainable way. Furthermore, it is clearly asserted that because ecosystem services are not fully captured in commercial markets or adequately quantified in terms of comparable economic services and manufactured capital, they are often given too little weight in policy decisions. So payment for ecosystem or environmental services is a scheme characterized by a voluntary transaction in which a well-defined ecosystem service is bought by a buyer from a provider or seller, in which if and only if the provider ensures continuous provision of that service. PES is hinged on the principle that resource users and communities provide the ES should be compensated for the cost of providing this by those who benefit from the environmental service. Compensation and incentives refers to direct cash payments or payments in kind, such as the provision of infrastructure, livelihood support, market preferences, health and educational services, skills training or scholarship programs, technical assistance, or land tenure or security given to provider or supplier of service to ensure its continuous provision. Users of ES should internalize the external benefit or positive externality. Thus, PES creates the missing incentives for the provision of environmental services. At least 4 conditions need to be met for a mechanism for payment of ecosystem services to occur. First, there must be a well-defined ecosystem service where the maintenance and supply can be of interest for someone. There must be a buyer able and willing to pay for the conservation of the specific ecosystem service. This can be multiple buyers or who are users or beneficiaries of the environmental service in a PES scheme. There must be a seller or a provider who receives payment in exchange for providing and maintaining the ecosystem service. And lastly, the transaction of paying and receiving for an ecosystem service should be primarily voluntary. Those involved in the transaction should participate because they want to and not because they are obligated to do so. So let us now look at the ethical foundation of payment for ecosystem services. At its core, PES is based on a simple but powerful ethical premise. Those who contribute to the provision of environmental services should be compensated for their efforts. This principle recognizes the value of ecosystem services and seeks to rectify the historical injustice of exploitation and environmental degradation, often borne disproportionately by indigenous communities and marginalized populations. So the first foundation is distributive justice. One of the key ethical aspects of PES is distributive justice. PES programs aim to address historical inequities by redistributing resources to those who have been traditionally disenfranchised. These programs can be seen as a means of rectifying past environmental harms and promote social equity. They ensure that the benefits of environmental services are shared more equitably among the stakeholders. The second foundation is fairness and accountability. PES programs must also uphold fairness and accountability. To be ethical, these programs must be transparent, inclusive, and ensure that payments reach those who genuinely contribute to environmental services. Proper monitoring and verification mechanisms are essential to prevent fraud, abuse, and the unjust enrichment of some at the expense of others. What are the challenges and ethical dilemmas involved in a payment for environmental services scheme? While the ethical foundations of PES are strong, its implementation is not without challenges and potential dilemmas. Number one is commodification of nature. One concern is the risk of commodifying nature. Critics argue that PES can reduce complex ecosystems to mere commodities, valuing them primarily for the services they provide rather than their intrinsic worth. This could encourage the instrumentalization of nature and promote a narrow anthropocentric view. Very important in the case of payment for ecosystem services is the assignment of monetary values to environmental resources, particularly in order to capture non-use values, but this invokes moral and ethical arguments. The second challenge is marginalization. PES programs may inadvertently marginalize certain groups, especially if there are various groups involved in the scheme. It is essential to ensure that vulnerable communities are not pushed aside in favor of more powerful actors who can more effectively negotiate and participate in the PES schemes. Ethical implementation should prioritize the protection and well-being of all stakeholders. Credible and concrete evidences of improvement of environmental and social conditions from PES are still lacking, according to a series of research done on payment for environmental services schemes. The third foundation is limited scope. PES programs, while ethically sound in principle, may have limited scope and resources. The available funding for such programs may not cover the full spectrum of environmental services, leaving some ecosystem and services overlooked. Such studies show that PES projects are dominantly catalyzed and initiated by government. Thus, the opportunity cost of resources is high. This is because the legal and institutional framework supporting PES schemes are not yet in place, and stakeholder capacity is still relatively weak. The present institutional arrangements neither efficiently nor judiciously function to make upland community share in the benefits, rewards, and incentives from environmental services that they provide. I will present to you some case studies of successful PES initiatives. The first one is the Ipo Watershed Payment for Ecosystem Services. So, located in the province of Bulacan, the Ipo Watershed serves as a critical source of fresh water for Metro Manila. However, rapid urbanization, deforestation, and anthropogenic activities threatened Ipo's capacity to provide clean water. To address this bleak scenario, the Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System, which manages the water supply of Metro Manila, implemented a PES scheme. MWSS started paying downstream communities and local landowners to protect and reforest the Ipo watershed. By conserving and restoring the watershed, they ensured a continuous and clean water supply for millions of people. The second successful case study of a PES scheme is the Sibuyan Island Forest Conservation Program. Sibuyan Island in Romblon is known for its rich biodiversity, including unique and endemic species. However, the island's forests were under threat from illegal logging and land conversion for agriculture. To protect this inviolable natural heritage, the Sibuyan Island Sentinels League for Environment initiated a PES program called Sibuyan Isle and partnered with organizations and individuals to fund conservation efforts and reforestation. Local communities were involved in the program and received payments for safeguarding the forest, which in turn provide habitat for endangered species and help secure a sustainable future for the island. In conclusion, let me highlight that the ethical dimensions of payment for ethical services are both compelling and challenging. At their core, PES program seeks to rectify historical injustices, promote distributive justice, and provide pragmatic solution to environmental degradation. However, they are not without potential pitfalls, including the commodification of nature, the marginalization of certain groups, and the limitation of available resources. To ensure the ethics of PES, it is crucial to strike a balance between valuing the services nature provides and respecting the intrinsic value of the ecosystem. Principles like transparency, informed consent, and equitable benefit sharing should be integrated. Transparent governance, community engagement, and safeguards against discrimination are essential to maintain fairness and accountability. Challenges can be addressed through adaptive collaborative management and innovative partnership. The interaction of awareness, education, and ethics as a support of any ecosystem payment scheme may help to ensure its success. While PES is not a panacea, when ethically designed and implemented, it can contribute ultimately to a more equitable and sustainable future where the vital services of our environment are both conserved and fairly compensated. Thank you.